I'm going to answer a couple of questions that were that I've been asked by my family. Everybody gave me whatever question they'd like to ask, and I would answer it. One of them was, when was I proud of our family, and give some particulars about it. Well, I'll tell you, all my kids, I love them all, and I'm really proud of all of them. I really am. I'm proud of them as anything. But to be proud as a family unit, I think what gave me the most pride was our trip from Peoria to California. Now it was, the kids had to leave their friends in Peoria. We picked up, we piled up 5 kids, a pregnant wife and myself in a station wagon, and headed for California. It was kind of an adventure, but I tell you, the kids were well behaved. Well, they weren't well behaved, but it was an adventure trip. Judy got car sick, because that's Judy. She always seems to get car sick. Don got sick once, but overall, I was really proud when we landed in California. We landed here safely, no car problems or anything, and I'll tell you, for a long drive, I was really proud that we came here, and even Linda, who was in Mom's belly, didn't give her any problems, so it was a great trip. One of the other things was, what is my best memory in high school? High school was really a tough time for me, and had a hard time in classes, but really the most memorable thing was my first time I seen your mother, Jeanette. I saw her at a Friday night dance. Our high school was all boys, and every Friday night we'd have what they call a Friday night dance, and all the girls were invited from all the girls' school over there. And that was the first time I seen Jeanette. In fact, I think I danced with her the first time. I was all slicked out at that time. I had a brand new double-breasted suit, and I think I had blue suede shoes too at the time. But anyway, I was quite dapper, I guess, and I saw her, and I don't know. It's hard to say, but it seemed like I sensed something special about her, and I think maybe I told myself if I wanted to marry a girl, it would be like Jeanette Zara at the time. And that's really the most memorable thing I can remember about high school. I played football, I got banged up, and I did all the other good stuff, But a little sidelight on high school. I started out and I don't know if I covered this before, but I started out at St. Mel as in the lowest class you could get, because I don't know, I wasn't very good test taker, maybe, or I don't know what it was, but when I graduated, my last 2 years in high school, I was for some reason I was put in the smartest room in the school. At that time, the kids stayed in the classroom and the teachers came to us. So at that time, So as I get, I don't know, maybe as I got more into high school, I got better prepared for it. But that's what I can remember about high school. Let's see what else we have here. Yeah, there's a lot of times in my life that were stressful. I mean, really stressful. I had to do a lot of thinking about it, but Laura's when she was a baby, her operation was, and her problems, with the what we thought we were going to lose her because her blood count was like 20,000, and the next day it was normal. So I mean, things like that. I prayed hard for her, and also when Jeanette had her hysterectomy, I also prayed pretty hard for her, and everything worked out. Another thing is kind of was stressful was my time that I worked in San Diego for 2 years. I mean, that was, I don't know, that was a waste of time. I didn't get the job I wanted, but that was kind of stressful. And then, of course, the most stressful thing I think I went through, and I don't know what it would be, the most disheartening, the one I felt worst about was when I got laid off by ACR. I was 56 years old. I had sold already $9 million worth of work. The other two guys sold, I think, $3 million. But anyway, that's water under the bridge. I really didn't think I was going to get laid off. I wanted to stay 10 more years with ACR. I was happy there. I was getting business. I had good rapport with my customers, and bingo, I got laid off by I guess a boss that didn't like how much money I was making. I really don't know. But anyway, I remember I was so disheartened, and at that time, I went to visit church. I went and visited church, and I prayed to God, saying, "Hey, listen, God, I have 6 kids. I think at that time, I don't remember, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 in the college. I says, I got to have some money. Got to make some money. It can kind of help me get find a job." And I think within 3 or 4 days, I had a job, and I did well with that company. In fact, I would have stayed with them, but then they moved to, I don't know, Palmdale or someplace. They bought a big factory, and I wasn't going to move to Palmdale. I wanted to stay in Huntington Beach, so that's when I left them. So that's probably the most stressful times in my life. The most joyous times are, well, of course, the birth of all my kids. I really think that I was really happy with the birth of my kids. It was really a joy time. When baby mother and Laura got home from the hospital after their operations, that was a time. And the weddings. Oh yeah, weddings. I really enjoy weddings. I enjoy dancing. It makes me happy. It's a real joyous time for myself, with all my kids' weddings, and now my grandkids' weddings. Okay, it's pretty neat. That's pretty neat. What was the most stressful time in my life? I mean, that was a pretty interesting question. What was the most stressful? And You know what it was? It was when I tried to quit smoking. To me, that was really stressful time. It was Christmas time. I was coming home from work, and I knew I was going to be home for a couple of weeks during the vacation, or a week and a half, or whatever. And I usually stopped and bought myself a Christmas present, just some junk that I know nobody's going to buy me. And I think about a train one year, bought some stuff one year, and some track, just maybe some fishing stuff. I bought a fishing rod one year, and so I figured I was going to stop and look around and get myself something for Christmas. And I'm driving, and I'm just going down the 405 right by the right before it runs into 22 there by the ammunition dump. And I said, you know what? The best thing I can do is quit smoking. So I took the cigarettes I had in my pocket, rolled down the window, and I threw out the cigarettes. And I had, for the next 10 days, I was well. I mean, it was, trying to get the, all that nicotine out of my system, and withdrawals and all that. But I did it, and believe it or not, I haven't had a cigarette in my mouth since that time. It's like I would have to give my present back or something. I don't know what it is, but I haven't smoked since. Then I thought that was probably the most stressful time in my life. Well, I was asked, what are the 5 things that I'd like to pass on that I think makes a good person or a good marriage or that. And it was, I think what I like to pass on, say to my kids, grandkids, great-grandkids, and whoever, is that first thing is God. I think God should be number one in a person's life, through prayer, through just being a God-loving person. The second, of course, would be the family. I think the family is the most important unit in our society. I think in every family should have a patron saint, a patron saint of the family. Our family was St. Jude. I don't know if you kids remember growing up, we'd always say, St. Jude, pray for us at the end of our prayers, evening prayers. So anyway, that's 2 of the things. Now the third thing would be always do your best. No matter what you do your best. Don't try, do. That's. And I can remember my old grandmother saying and giving me this advice when I was young. She says, "Always do your best, and God will do the rest." I mean, that was her little saying. And that's what I did. I always tried to do the best I could, and it always seemed to work out. And that's what it should be. And then, I don't know let's see, the third thing would be maybe do more loving and less hating. I think in my life I did about equal amount maybe, but it never. Every time I try to dislike somebody or actually hate them because of some ungodly reason. And I don't know, it never seemed to work out. I think it's best to love somebody than to hate them. But I like I say, I did hate some people in my life, but it's probably, I love more than I hate it. And let me see, the fifth thing is, I don't know, fifth thing would be maybe become a Republican. I guess I'm a conservative, and but you know that's that's one of the things I should. That was kind of a joke, but anyway, I am a Republican. Let's see what else we got here. I was asked when was I scared or nervous or excited. I think that's probably another time I was scared, nervous, and excited. I think it was probably the Peoria to California trip. I was taking on a new position. I was a little scared that I could do the position. I was a little nervous because I was under a little pressure from the company, and I was excited because I was moving to California. So I guess I was all three of them with that trip. It was kind of a new job, a new venture. It was kind of all three. Then I was asked about my sister. Did I ever fight with my sister? I was always 10 years older than she, and the only thing she was growing up was kind of a little bratty. I don't know. I guess that's the word. She'd always get me in trouble somewhere. That I was out late last night. But she was 10 years younger. So when I was like 17 and 18 and 16, 17, 18 in my mid-teens and doing all sorts of crazy stuff. She was always 7 and 8 years old. Always Billy did this and Billy did that, and he came home late, and I think he was drinking and all sorts of crazy stuff like that. Or she'd catch me smoking in the alley and tell my mother, I saw him smoking. He's smoking in the alley. Well, little things like that. We really never had what I would consider a fight. We would actually fight with each other. Because of the age difference. So that was the only thing I can try. And then I was asked what my mother was like. My mother was a tiny woman, about just 5'1", maybe 5'2". She had a little more education than my dad. She went 2 years to high school. She worked for Standard, no, not Standard Oil. It was Sinclair Oil as a contometer operator. Now, as a contometer operator, these contometers were like an old-fashioned adding machine. So they would hand her bills and stuff, and she would go through them all to make sure that they were right and that they were accurate. And that's what that's what she did. In fact, when we had the store, that she would check bills and stuff with the contometer all the time. And it was an old-fashioned adding machine. I tell you, I could do a lot more with my mother. Was a lot more loving. Not more. Maybe I don't know, more loving, but I think I could always get anything I wanted from my mother. I'd just ask her. My dad would say no, and I'd talk to my mom, and I usually get what I wanted. But I can remember about my mom. She wasn't a very good cook. She liked to burn things a lot, but I know she loved my dad. She loved me and my sister, and she was a good woman. She just couldn't cook. My grandmother, who I spent a lot of time with growing up as a kid, she could cook, and she was the one that gave me a lot of encouragement, and I can remember one of the sad times in my life is when she had her stroke and couldn't remember anything, or couldn't cook, or things like that. And I remember when during the war, when the Germans killed all her family and friends and destroyed the town that she came from. She was quite sad for many months. But that's another story about my grandma. One of these days I may even talk about my grandma and grandpa. Okay. And I guess that would answer who influenced me in growing up. Would probably be my grandmother. She's the one that instilled on me about doing my best and things like that. She taught me how to cook. She how to make dumplings and sauerkraut and things like that. And she was quite a woman. And so I tell you that she was a great influence on me. Then also in my life there was a lot of people that had influenced me in some ways or another. A good friend of mine, I remember John Marshall, one of the smartest men I knew. And I considered him a great friend, and he died of alcoholism. Tried to get him to stop, but I couldn't. But he influenced me on how to sell, and he was a good guy. There was when I went through a little retreat when I was in high school, and there was a Jesuit priest that taught at the University of Chicago, and he kind of influenced my thinking about should I become a priest or should I get married, and I think he kind of influenced me. So everybody has some influence on a person. I mean, you can't say that somebody has more influences on the other. It seems like in your lifetime you meet friends and you meet other people, and they all influence you somewhat in your life. I think that's all I want to say about that. if you know, I don't know if this is going to mean anything to anybody or one of these days, but you know, I had. I hope I answered, you know, the questions that, you know, that you had, you know, you had asked me, you know, a lot of times. Oh, let me get back to my mother. One of the saddest times is when she was in her later stages of cancer in my life, and she didn't recognize me. She didn't even know who I was, and that was kind of hurtful. But that was the disease, I guess, and that's what finally killed her. So that's about the story of my life. You know, you may hear it, may not. Oh, telephone's ringing.